We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. All right. Good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I'm your host on this magical mystery tour, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to take these off real quick. I'm having a little bit of audio issue, so I can just talk to you directly today. Thank you very much for joining the show. We've got a bunch to get to. A player and a commit, first round at Major League Draft drafted. I'll tell you about that. Pro Football Focus, again, doubles down on Matt Corral. I'll talk about that. 4 commitments over the weekend. Yes, I will talk about that. And of course, you can go to therebelwalk.com. Again, that is therebelwalk.com for more information on them, but we'll hit on them a little bit today. And I will tell you about my tips and tricks about my trip to Hollywood studio yesterday, what I noticed, some observations. Now, it looks like Disney is completely back from COVID. I noticed no real thing other than the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular is closed, but that's going to be opening soon. And because they're starting to gather people in rooms and tight quarters again. So that is something we're going to get into as well. I'll tell you all about Slinky Dog. I'll tell you about Rise of the Resistance. I'll tell you about all that stuff. But that'll be at the end of the show. But first, I'm going to tell you about Ole Miss. But before we get started, I want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. That's Travel and Cruise World. Whenever you vacation in Central Florida, it would be nice to have a local to handle the ever-changing worlds around all these parks. You never know what you're going to get into. You never know what is going to happen. These guys are going to be on the ground here and knows what's going on at every park at the minute that they happen. So go to Travel and Cruise World at 1-800-330-7461. You can watch the show at Twitter at The Stephen Willis or at The Rebel Walk. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast or facebook.com/The Rebel Walk. Catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about, and you can catch us on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. We're also on audio at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're on several smaller podcatchers, but it would take too long to name them all. So, again, I am Stephen Willis. Thank you for joining us from the palatial Central Florida studios. A big weekend in recruiting for Ole Miss. That was going to be the number one story. And then Gunnar Hoagland went number 19 to Toronto in the Major League Baseball draft. That was a big story. Possibly another big story is Jackson Jobe going number 3 to Detroit. He was the top commit in Ole Miss's signing class. It does not look like he's going to show up on campus when the baseball season starts. I think he's already moved in, but I imagine that's going to change. The slot number is about $7 million for number 3 overall. So there's not enough name, image, and likeness out there that is probably going to turn that around. I do have a thought. If name, image, and likeness like the mid-tier players that were 3 and done going to the major league draft, they might stay 4 now. But you're dealing with leverage with the Major League Baseball draft and more money. It's going to be tricky, but with name, image, and likeness, somebody like, I don't know, Tim Elko could really cash in on that. Kevin Graham could really cash in on that and do a 4th year in college. So that's something to think about. Also, I want to bring this up real quick. The audio seemed to have dropped out there for a second, but we talked about the Matt Corral situation. We should be back now. So, yeah, we're having a little bit of an audio issue today on the show. We're going to have to do some troubleshooting after it goes off the air. But like I said before, they're putting air raid quarterbacks and not calling them system quarterbacks. They're breaking that out for Matt Corral for some reason. Lincoln Riley, a disciple of Mike Leach. Phil Longo, a disciple of Mike Leach. All those air raid guys used to be system quarterbacks. They're not any longer. This is all just perception, and the fact that the air raid becoming normalized became an absolute, an actual thing. So they figure out a way to rank them. They put Matt Corral down below. They put Spencer Rattler up above. Those guys could both, if Ole Miss wins 9 games this year, both those guys could be in New York this year. That's just my opinion. All right. 4 commitments over the weekend. Jacarius Clayton. I'm going to say Timmy Gagafian. Do not know his last name, how to pronounce it. I apologize for that if I butchered that, Timmy. But it looks like Gagafian. Preston Cushman from Clearwater, Florida, right down the road from here, right down the road from the palatial Central Florida studios, and Jeremiah Dillon from Tylertown, a transfer from Parkland Academy. So a little MAIS to Mississippi Public Schools, a little experiment being played out. So that's something to look at. And let me check and make sure I've got the audio set up so I don't go blank when I do this. I do not, so just bear with me. I'm just setting it up real quick. And these guys are pretty good players. They really are. And we finally got video of Jeremiah Clayton out of Tupelo. He played defensive end predominantly in high school. I don't know if that's going to change, if he's going to move over and be a 3 technique. But he played on the outside pretty much, as a 3-4 defensive lineman. And you're seeing players being recruited to fit that system. The absolute huge boys. You got the 3-4 defensive end size at 6'5", 280. You see them going out and getting them, and you can see that 3-3-5 is kind of in Ole Miss's future. They're going to do some hybrid stuff and do 4-2-5, but 3-3-5 is actually going to be there. So he's a good player out of Tupelo High School. It's a big pickup for Ole Miss, basically because Tupelo is such a Mississippi State stronghold. I know Ole Miss fans don't like to talk about something like that, but it really is. It's one of their South Panolas. I mean, you go back in time, just one after the other from Tupelo go south to Starkville instead of going west to Oxford. So this could be a big pickup. I think we got a wide receiver a few years ago. Hasn't really, amounted to too much on the field at this point. But, there's always time to turn that around. This is another example of them pulling that in. Now, another player is Timo Gagafian. And he's an offensive tackle from Houston, I think on Leaf, Houston. And he's a high ceiling guy from the people I've talked to. He's absolutely a high ceiling guy. So usually when Texas, the big concern that you have when recruiting Texas is the coaching is so good there that the players are going to come to you as basically a finished product, which means all the bad habits are going to be locked in. Everything is kind of you're going to recruit what you get. You're not going to be able to develop or make them better. But talking to people, like I said, with this, Timo Gagafian, he's kind of a raw offensive tackle product, but he has very good movement. It looks like his bend is okay. He gets out in front and likes to pull, likes to lead. He's going to do the job and fit the role of the Ole Miss offensive line, because you can actually see over the course of a little bit they've kind of recruited a mountain of them in. But this is a big player at the tackle position. The next one's down here by me. Absolutely down here by me. And talking about Preston Cushman, who plays over in Clearwater. That's about 55 miles from where I sit right now. I think there's a game like in Lakeland, which is about 15 minutes up the road from me, like on the 27th of August. Offensive lineman reminds me a little bit of Ben Brown. I think there's a potential for him to do it. He's an athletic interior offensive lineman. He's 6'5", 280, so he's got a little bit of room to grow. And I don't know, I think maybe a red shirt could be a thing, but maybe a slightly less Royce Newman path for him moving forward, because Royce just couldn't put on weight and ended up playing at a very low weight. But the Alex Gibbs zone scheme that we started way back with Terrell Davis and everything that revolutionized football, and now zone just appeared in all aspects of college football and football's run game in general, asked for smaller offensive linemen. So he's 6'5", 280. Now, I think he could get up, but there's offensive linemen that Ole Miss are recruiting that are very high up, very high in, and there's very different style bodies like this one is 6'5", 280. So he's a true athlete. I bet if you look to him like one of this is a little inside baseball, but whenever Coach Orgeron was at Ole Miss and they're recruiting athletes, especially big guys, one thing they looked at is ankle size. You can tell if somebody was a true athlete if they had small ankles with a large frame. So I imagine this guy is going to be a small ankle type player and a true athlete. But he reminds me a little bit of Ben Brown. Kind of that build, kind of what he's doing. Now, this one has me a little bit excited. I like a hidden gem every now and then. And Jeremiah Dillon out of Tylertown might be just that. Another recruit, very athletic, very speedy. Now, his ranking is currently on the composite at about 0.84, somewhere in there. And I think since these are highlights from Park Lane Academy, which that's an MAIS school, and now he's transferred to Tylertown, we're going to get to follow him over the course of the season and seeing how much he can improve and how different it is. Because in these Park Lane highlights, he just beats people on speed. Just absolutely runs by him. And he's a super fast guy. He's going to be recruited as an offensive weapon, I believe. He's a potential for the slot, in my opinion. And they're going to use him in jet sweeps and inside behind the linebackers and things like that. So look for him doing that. But like I said, his highlights at Park Lane Academy were pretty impressive. It just absolutely was. And that is just because of how athletic he was. But those are the 4 commitments of the weekend. We're going to do a Rebel Walk recruiting show special. We're going to do a Rebel Walk recruiting show special tomorrow, I believe. It should air tomorrow afternoon. I think that's the plan, at least. We're going to record it at about 2 Central. And then after that, we'll get it up there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about these recruits. But I wanted to give you a little base layer of knowledge when it comes to those guys and prepare you for what's coming up. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the schedule for the fall, kind of what you can look at, what it's going to look like, what it's going to be like. And second of all, I'm going to tell you about my Hollywood Studios trip. There's a lot of people that are delaying taking a trip down here. This is going to be some firsthand knowledge that nobody else has. But until then, I'm going to take a short break and I'll be back in about a minute. All right, welcome back. As you can see, I opened up the chat. There's some people participating in the chat. I wanted to bring it up. I know I lost sound earlier today. There was something that went on. Having a little bit of an audio snafu today, but it was one of those after the show is over, we're going to hit that up as well and find out what's going on. So a little bit of an audio snafu. We might need to restart the system and things like that. It could be a computer issue. I'm not 100% sure. So this is what, before we get started, I do want to tell you about the rebelwalk.com. Evelyn and her team do a fantastic job. They provide a subscriber level experience for no money. All it costs you is your time, and boy, oh boy, is it worth it. Go over and check out the rebelwalk.com for football, basketball, baseball, pretty much anything dealing with Ole Miss that you want to see. So, all right, schedule for the fall. We got about 9 minutes. I'm probably not going to be able to give you time back today, so I apologize for that. But looking at the schedule, we're going to do Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. There's going to be a late night show each of those nights that's going to air on pretty much the next morning is when everybody's going to catch it, but it'll probably be live. So about 8:30 Central at night, 9:30 Eastern, we're going to do the Beast of the East. Tonight, that's going to debut, the Beast of the East. Tuesday, we're going to try and find a couple of people to do the Best of the West. These are two podcasts that I am not hosting at all. These are going to be different people, different perspectives from around the league. Wednesday night is going to be SEC After Dark with me and Corey and Jeb Beecham, just basically talking SEC football. We did an audio version of that. That was originally our old Around the SEC show, but we're going to do an SEC After Dark thing. Whenever Jeb gets down here, it's going to become 3 different people on the show. So it's going to be a larger podcast for you to watch. You can see kind of what it looks like off of the SEC After Dark that we did last week. We did one Friday. We're going to do one Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to do the Rebel Walk recruiting show every day. Every Thursday is the plan. We might do one Friday. I mean, it's going to be subject to change. And we can learn about recruiting, especially with football, a lot of the stuff coming on. Like I said, you saw the highlights. We're going to get a different perspective from Leanne Herring to see exactly what's going on in recruiting at Ole Miss. So that's pretty cool. We're going to do a POMcast every day at this time. It's 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. That's not going to change. We're going to do weekly, like sometime during the week. We're going to try and hit probably in the mid-afternoon, a Rebel baseball show. We're going to keep that going during the off season. By the way, we're not just going to do away with that. We're going to keep that going during the off season. I think we have an autopsy show basically coming up, and we're going to talk about the draft a little bit and things like that. We're going to try and do a basketball show, maybe with Trevor Oxley, get that up and running, and stuff like that. We're going to feed the content, as like they say on the J-Boy show, win the water cooler. So we're going to have different attitudes and different perspectives about all range of sports, Ole Miss fans and not Ole Miss fans, so you'll know exactly what's going on. So it's going to be pretty cool. That's my goal. We'll see what it actually looks like. And on top of that, we have all the Rebel Walk stuff, all the previews, all the reactions, Monday morning quarterback that we're going to do during football season. That's just a working title. We're thinking about doing other things that we can expand to and to include your whole experience. And we're thinking about doing a Grove show, a tailgating show. What's going on, where you at? Because, we can remotely attach, but we don't know what the internet would look like in the Grove. That could be a problem if we promise that. So that is the idea with the show. But, I mean, it should be a lot of fun. But like I said, win the water cooler, for the fan, by the fan, all that stuff. Ole Miss football, right here. Ole Miss basketball, right here. Ole Miss baseball, right here. Ole Miss non-revenue sports, right here. We're actually trying to find, hook it up to where we can do a weekly, 5-minute show, 10-minute show on non-revenue sports. Give them a little bit of due. So it's going to be a big time on this channel, and we just appreciate everybody tuning in with the huge numbers that we've gotten over the last couple of months. So that is absolutely great. So thank you. And also Hollywood Studios, before I get out of here, I think I got, how long do I got? About 5 minutes. Hollywood Studios, Disney is as close to pre-COVID back as Disney has been. Other than people wearing hoodies in July at Disney, which shows bad decision making and potential psychopath tendencies. It all worked out pretty well. The only thing that really wasn't open at Hollywood Studios was the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, where I guess they didn't want to put 10,000 people together, and that's fine. But they are starting to coalesce them like a Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway or Rise of the Resistance, where you all just stand up in a room. Before we start and get going, Rise of the Resistance, the most immersive ride that I have ever been on at a theme park. Period. It's the first time I rode it. It was fantastic. It just gets you into that universe. They do a fantastic job. You think it's over. You get in there and you ride it, and they have their little Star Tours thing at the beginning, and you're like, was that the ride? No, you've been tractor beamed, and you get pulled in a little bit more into that immersive experience on top of a Star Destroyer. So it's pretty cool. Really interesting to see some of their things that they have there. I mean, it's neat. It really is. I really like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Both it and Rise of the Resistance uses the same ride technology. So it was pretty cool. I recommend, by the way, going to Backlot Express and getting there when it opens at 11. I walked straight in with the family, got the food, sat down in the air conditioner, got everything going, and nobody really knows because it's back in a corner of the lot that people aren't just walking by or noticing it ahead of time. So you can get ahead. The way you do it, you can get ahead of all the workers whenever it opens. If you get there at like 10:55, you can walk just straight in and just mobile order, boom, get it, gone, eat it. It's fantastic. The rough thing right now is the queues are still kind of interrupted because of the social distancing. That's the one thing about Disney that you notice. The lines are a little bit longer, and fast passes they do not have right now. You can't get an annual pass at the moment. Those two things, as they kind of are reorganizing how they're going to do things. I expect a membership program to where 2 days out of the month you can sign up and go to a park, which, thank you. That's going to save us a ton of money once we actually get in the park, and we don't really go but once or twice anyway. So it's going to be really cool. I had a lot of fun. I really did. I mean, other than a couple of psychopaths I saw that kind of, wearing hoodies in 93 degrees on concrete at Hollywood Studios in July, it was a good time. It was a lot of fun, and got to do just about everything. Slinky Dog, 10 out of 10. I love Slinky Dog. Rock and Roller Coaster was down, so I didn't get to do that, but I've done that probably 7 or 8 times. So I guess we'll give you a minute back. Thank you very much for watching today, and stay tuned for more stuff to come. Beast of the East coming tonight. Thank you very much, and of course, hotty toddy.